Hello everyone, welcome to this video in which I want to discuss a topic that I think is quite important in guitar education or learning how to play guitar. Now, if I have one problem in my videos is that they are way too long, and that is because I start rambling, and even worse, I start rambling in a language that is not my native tongue. So even though I think the videos are filled with good musical information, I should try to make my videos shorter. So this video I'm going to try to keep under 10 minutes. And to make that happen, I actually made bullet points so I can keep on topic. So I want to discuss why I think that spending less time with music theoretical subjects and more time with actually playing guitar and finding nice devices to play on progressions is a faster and more fun path towards guitar mastery. And first of all, I just want to say these are all my opinions and they might be very far from the truth. And of course, you can disagree with me all you want. I'm just stating my opinion and, I'm just some guy with an opinion. So that brings me back to 2011 when I started a site called the Rosenberg Academy together with world famous guitar player Stochelo Rosenberg. And we did that together because he felt that he needed someone that was able to transcribe his solos and provide theoretical explanations behind the notes he was playing. So I started transcribing many of his solos, and I think now I've transcribed more than 100 of his solos, both for the Academy and also in private, because in 2011 I didn't really play guitar. I knew some chords, some basic chords, but I had no right-hand picking technique, or I didn't know any of the location of the notes on the neck. I mean, I could figure them out, but I didn't know them cold. I couldn't even play a simple theme. But while transcribing those solos, I started practicing them. And that is when I discovered that the nature of the guitar, of the way that the guitar is built and with the frets and the neck, it is actually beneficial to you as a learning guitar player to not spend time with theory, or not too much theory. I'll get back to that. There's some theory you should get into. So in all those solos that I transcribed, I discovered certain things. I discovered that there were no set scales or motifs or other theoretical devices, just shapes, and within those shapes, one awesome shape after another. Within those shapes, Stochelo had his stock phrases, his signature phrases that he could alter with rhythmical embellishments or melodical embellishments. So a lick didn't have just one sound, it could have many sounds, many variations. And that made me think back about how people start to learn guitar. So think back about the way you started to learn guitar, right? Maybe you had a guitar lesson or you found some beginner course on the internet, and probably the first thing that you learned was either E minor, right? Or A minor. I'm betting one of those two, or maybe you learned G, but that's more difficult already with the pink here. So you came into the guitar lesson and this teacher showed you this chord, right? He didn't tell you anything about the minor third in E minor, or that it could be the 2 chord in D or the 6 chord in G, or like which notes are in the chord. He just showed you the shape. And you went home and started playing those 2 chords, maybe E minor, A minor, for the whole week, storing the sounds of those chords in your brains, in your ears. And maybe the next lesson he would teach you C, right? C or G. And then after maybe a couple of months, he would show you your first bar chord, probably F, right? Or maybe he would G, some chord. And then you would struggle with playing that because it's difficult with the bar chords. And after you could play it, he or she would tell you, you could shift that chord up, and then you have an A right here, or a B right there, or a C. And you say, oh, a C right here, but here's a C. Why is there a C there, right? And you'd be amazed by this this way the neck would work. You wouldn't maybe understand it, but you would be amazed and you would be surprised by that you could play the same chords in different locations. And here's where there's, I think, 3 paths you could take. Now, all 3 paths could lead to you being a very good guitar player. But I want to highlight the path that I think is the most fun and would lead to the fastest results. So the first path is that you just take this information as is, right? You think, okay, so I have a G here, I have a G there. That's great. Okay, teach me something else, right? You wouldn't think about, okay, then maybe there's an A there. When somebody would say there's an A here and there's an A there, you might not even make the connection immediately. Oh, that's just this G shifted up 2 frets. You would just say, okay, now I have 2 A's. That's the first path. So you don't care about the theory at all. And that is fine, right? You can get great results with this. The problem with this approach, of course, is that forever you'll be dependent on other people giving you more information about how to play certain things, or you have to search for certain sounds yourself. But there's many great songs that have been written by people who were just searching for nice chords, and then they found this open chord right here, right? You think, oh, that's great, and they would shift it, and they would come up with a great song. So that is a route that is certainly viable. Now, the second path would be that you started to ask lots of questions about why you can shift those chords, and then you search on the internet or in books, and you'd see the pitch collections of these chords, and you think, oh, so a G chord has a G, B, and D, and when I play that chord here, there's also a G, B, and D, but it's in a different order, and then you would try to discover why different orders would work, and you'd be lost in reading about how chords would function, and you can take this very far, of course, with inversions and alterations and extensions to the chords. Nothing wrong with this. There's tons of people that have done this that are great guitar players. The problem, though, is that you will spend a lot of time away from the guitar, reading about theory, discussing theory on forums, and the danger is that you spend more time actually learning theory than playing nice sounding stuff on the guitar. And the third path is that you are equally amazed about this fact that you can play the chords in different positions. And then you start making a system out of it. Like, okay, so if I want to play a G with this shape, then I should make sure that there's a G on the E string there, right? So you start learning the notes on the E string. That's all you need to play this shape everywhere, right? Because now you want to play a C, you just find the C there, you have memorized the C, and you play a C, right? You don't care about the order of the notes or which notes are in it. You just take a practical path. I would say that's a heuristic, right? The heuristic in this case is, if I can find the note on the low E string, then I can play a major chord in this bar shape. And this is the exact approach that people like Stochlo took, right? Because maybe he learned this chord, right? And he learned that chord as being part of Honeysuckle Rose, right? So they wouldn't say C7, but they would say, let's start with this chord, right? And later he would learn a song like Let It Be Good. And that goes da, 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 da. There's a C7 there, da, ba, da, ba, D7, right? D7. So he would learn the shape right there. And he would say, oh, it's the same shape shifted up. So that means that later on, when he would start playing solo and he would learn a phrase that goes over this chord, he would figure out, okay, then if it fits over this chord, then probably it would also fit if I start there. And he wouldn't care about, okay, that's a diminished arpeggio. The heuristic would be, okay, if I can find that note on the A string, I can start this shape and it would fit nice over that chord. And I think this is the approach that is the fastest, the most fun, and goal-oriented. And it would force you to spend time with your guitar, because now every theoretical subject that you would go into would force you to link it to something on the guitar, right? You would find a certain shape on the guitar and start playing from that shape and then shift it around. There's no more theory needed than that. It doesn't matter how complicated it is. It could be something like that, right? Which would be an octatonic phrase, or from the diminished scale or the octatonic scale. But you don't have to learn that scale. You would just have to learn, okay, if I have this chord, I can start that phrase here. And then you would just memorize the movements of the hand. And I always try to categorize the movements of the hand in slides, repeats. So repeat would be if you have the same fingering on two strings, right? 4-3-1, 4-3-1, stuff like that. You can make your own little system, but you would be primarily working with heuristics like that. And if you don't know what heuristics are, then look it up on Wikipedia. It's just shortcuts for your brain to get your head wrapped around a complicated subject. So to end this video, I want to give you an example of these three paths with a phrase, so that you can learn a nice lick, and you can see why I think the third path is the most useful. So let's look at the phrase that I chose for you, which goes like this. And it's a phrase in A minor, fits over A minor chord, any A minor you want. A minor 6, A minor 7, A minor major 7, that doesn't really matter. So the phrase goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Three, 4. Right? Nice little phrase. So the first path would somebody showing you this lick, or me showing you this lick, and you think, oh, that's great. I'll remember that I can play that over A minor. And that's it. You just practice this phrase, and every time there's an A minor chord, you can play this. That's great. But if you don't realize that by shifting it back 2 frets, you could play it on G minor, you're missing an essential part of what guitar playing is all about for me, right? And it would take you a long time before you could actually play a fluent solo on any chord progression. Now the second path is that you start thinking about the notes you're playing. Think, oh, this is E minor 7, and then oh, we have B minor 7, and then we have A minor 7. But the chord's A minor. Why can I play E minor 7 and B minor 7 over this chord? And you start studying theory, and you find the Dorian mode, right? And then you start exploring what Dorian is. And then you start learning Dorian scales, right? This has nothing to do with actually playing this phrase. This is just learning something about the theory behind why this works. It won't make you be able to play this. Now, the third approach would be to look at this phrase and find shapes that help you place this phrase on the neck. So for me, I would think, okay, there's this nice forcing for A minor that goes like this, right? And if I play the shape, my pinky is on the start note, and then I would just remember the movements of the hand. So it's very easy because it's 3, 2, 1, right? It looks great visually. This shape is easy to remember, and then I have, might be a little bit more difficult, but then the next step is very easy because I can play a mirror of this fingering, the same 2 frets down. I don't have to know that I'm playing E minor, B minor, A minor. I just remember if I have A minor and I find this chord, so I have to know this chord. Or you can find another chord. Maybe you think, okay, A minor, I know good forcing for A minor like this. And then if I just put my pinky down to start. Or you could say, I know A minor like this. And then it's on the same fret as where my first finger is, right? Whatever is good for you. And once you got that down, then it's easy to play this everywhere because G minor would be here. And the benefit of it is you got this great blues thing at the end, but you don't have to realize, okay, that is from the blues scale or it's pentatonic. No, you just know, okay, this phrase ends with this nice blues thing. And then after a while, you start playing that blues thing without that phrase. And you have a, let's see, you start playing, right? Okay, so to end, let me improvise a little bit in A minor, and I will play this phrase somewhere. So now realize that everything I'm playing, I learned with this method. I didn't do any theory, I just learned shapes and found phrases in those shapes. Okay, so here we go, A minor. 1, 2, 3. That's it. And that is what I'm trying to do with my channel. So if you find other videos on my channel and I'm rambling a bit, try to look past it, because I will provide you with great shapes and phrases that will enable you to sound good almost immediately. So I hope you will do that, and see you in the next video. Bye.